Okay, let's dive right in. This game on July 3rd, 2025, between the Indiana Fever and the Las Vegas Aces. It really delivered an outcome that, well, stunned just about everyone following the WNBA.
Oh, absolutely. Stunned is the right word. The immediate reactions were just, shock and awe.
Right. A struggling Fever team, missing its biggest star, Caitlin Clark, and they just absolutely dominate the two-time defending champs.
Exactly. It wasn't just like another regular season game. This felt like a real defining moment, a 27-point blowout that didn't just end that long losing streak for the Fever against the Aces.
16 games, right?
16 straight, yeah. It completely flipped the script on both teams. So for this deep dive, we've looked at reports from ESPN, Athlon Sports, other outlets, and honestly, a ton of fan chatter online.
Yeah, the fan reactions have been intense.
For sure. We want to unpack how the Fever pulled off what people are calling a masterclass, especially defensively. And on the other side, why Aces coach Becky Hammon just unloaded, calling her team's play trash.
So our mission today really is to figure out the key factors behind this totally unexpected result. And maybe more importantly, what this huge shift means for both Indiana and Vegas going forward. It's fascinating when you think about how fast things can change in pro sports.
It really is. So let's start with that scoreline because it tells a story in itself. Indiana Fever 81, Las Vegas Aces 54.
27 points. That margin against the Aces.
Wow. It's significant. And you mentioned the context, which makes it even wilder.
Yeah, I mean, Caitlin Clark was out. 4th straight game, 9th overall this season with that groin injury.
Right. And Vegas. They were 4.5-point favorites according to BetMGM. ESPN Analytics gave the Fever, like a 55, maybe 56% chance to win. Not exactly overwhelming odds for Indiana.
No. So how did they do it? Was it just defense or something more?
Well, the defense was huge. We'll get into that. But it also speaks volumes about their execution, their belief, and that historical significance breaking the streak.
That 16-game losing streak, their first win against the Aces since 2019. You saw that fan quote everywhere.
No one beats the Indiana Fever 17 times in a row.
Exactly. It captures that feeling, that release perfectly.
And it really was wire-to-wire control. They never trailed. Yeah. They had their biggest halftime lead of the season, 46-24. Just total dominance from the start.
Okay, so let's flip to the other side. The Aces meltdown. Coach Hammon calling it 3/4 of trash. Mm-hmm. I mean, how often do you hear a coach be that blunt publicly?
It's pretty rare, especially with that kind of language. Yeah. Usually you get more coded criticism, but she was direct. Her post-game comments were just blistering.
Like what specifically?
She straight up said it was one of the worst games I've ever seen. And then tonight we put a third quarter together. And after that, 3/4 of trash, the offense was trash. The defense was trash.
Wow. No punches pulled there.
None.
Yeah.
She called it a complete lack of professionalism to come here with that effort. Said she didn't know how they could perform like that in front of 20,000 people.
That's a direct challenge to their pride, their professionalism.
Absolutely. And she capped it off by saying, it is the worst offensive night I've ever seen since I've been here in the last 4 years. That tells you how bad it was.
And the offensive numbers back that up.
Yeah.
Just abysmal.
Oh, completely. Season low, 54 points. They shot, wait for it, 26.2% from the field.
Oof.
And only 18.8% from three. Just couldn't buy a bucket. And what really stands out, the isolation of A'ja Wilson.
Yeah, talk about that. She still got hers to an extent. But.
Right. She had 29 points, which is incredible in a game like this. 9 of 18 shooting, got to the line 13 times, made 11. She was fighting.
But the rest of the team?
The rest of the team combined for only 25 points. 25 points on 7 of 43 shooting. That's 16%.
16%. That's unbelievable. No wonder fans were pointing out, A'ja scored more than half their points, or IQ made more shots than everyone else put together.
Exactly. Jackie Young, 6 points on 2 of 9. Chelsea Gray, just 2 points. When your stars outside of Wilson are that quiet, you just can't win.
So it wasn't just bad shooting luck. It was something systemic in that game.
It looked like it.
Yeah.
And defensively, Hammon was just as critical. Said the Fever were getting downhill layups all night.
In the paint, yeah.
She used this really vivid analogy, called it a rugby match, where her team doesn't want to play rugby, so we get our ass kicked. Basically saying they weren't tough enough.
That points directly to effort and focus, which she also mentioned.
Yep. The effort and the focus just were not there. And the stats show it. The Fever had a 28-10 advantage in points in the paint just in the first half.
And, this wasn't a one-off bad game for the Aces this season, which is probably why Hammon was so frustrated.
Right. She mentioned that inconsistency. They beat Phoenix, the league's hottest team, and then lay this egg. They've had other big losses too.
That 27-point loss to Golden State, the 20-point loss to Seattle.
Exactly. It led her to say she's considering shaking something up, maybe changing the starters, which, for a two-time defending champ, that's a big statement.
It really is. Okay, so let's pivot back to the Fever. Because while the Aces imploded, the Fever actively made it happen. This defensive masterclass and what seems like really strong team chemistry now.
Totally. That defense was suffocating. Holding the Aces to 54 points, that 26% shooting, forcing 19 turnovers, which tied Vegas's season high. Yeah. That's lockdown stuff.
And it wasn't a fluke. You mentioned this earlier, but it bears repeating. This was the second straight game they held a team under 60. They just did it to Minnesota in the Commissioner's Cup final.
Which they won, by the way.
Right. And get this fan stat. This is wild. Last season, the Fever didn't hold a single opponent under 70 points. Not once.
Wow.
This year. They've held opponents under 60 points 4 times already. That's a transformation.
It really is. And it wasn't just one person. Kelsey Mitchell led the way with 25 points, 6 assists. Good scoring night for her.
Aaliyah Boston looked great too. 20 points, 7 boards.
And Natasha Howard, the Commissioner's Cup MVP, she had a double-double, 11 and 10. Solid contributions across the board.
But the player getting a ton of buzz right now is Araya McDonald, stepping in for Clark. She seemed to really change things.
Oh, massively. She's starting at point guard, bringing, as people say, quickness and passion, really leading that defensive effort.
Aaliyah Boston couldn't stop praising her. Said something like, you just see her impact. Look at her plus minutes. It was like plus 26 in this game.
Plus 26. That's huge.
Yeah, Boston said it's her defense, getting them into the offense, making the right reads. Called her the perfect missing piece.
And the results back that up. The Fevers haven't lost since Coach White put McDonald in the starting lineup. Undefeated.
Fans are loving her. Calling her the battery pack for the defense, the feel-good story. It's great to see.
And that ties into the whole team cohesion aspect. There's a lot of talk, especially from fans, about improved chemistry.
Right, and much of that fan chatter links it to the departure of DeWanna Bonner. People saying things like, the Bonner situation was bringing the locker room down immensely. Do we know if that's just speculation or is there more to it?
It's mostly fan speculation, you're right. There isn't concrete sourced reporting confirming locker room strife tied directly to Bonner causing this specific turnaround. But
the perception is strong.
Very strong. You see comments everywhere saying the team looks loose, relaxed, happy, and dominant right after that news broke. Whether it's correlation or causation, fans feel there's a connection.
And you have to credit Coach Stephanie White, too. She got a lot of heat early in the season.
Oh, yeah. People were questioning her.
But she seems to have steered the ship. There were reports, her message was, give it until the All-Star break for the team to gel. And now people are acknowledging, hey, the coaching looks much better. The defense is transformed.
Persistence paying off, maybe? Which brings us inevitably to the Caitlin Clark factor.
Right, because the Fevers are now 5-4 this season without her, which is kind of remarkable.
It demonstrates they can adapt, they can win without their superstar, which is huge for team confidence.
And it fuels that fan debate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About Clark's defense versus this current lockdown unit.
Yeah, you see that discussion. Some worry her defensive liabilities might disrupt this new flow. Others are more optimistic, saying, her defense can improve and the team's better scheme now will help integrate her when she's healthy.
It's a fascinating dynamic. Yeah. How does a team build this identity without its main star? And then what happens when she comes back?
We'll have to see. And speaking of roster moves and player identities, let's talk about Alyssa Smith.
Ah, yes, the trade saga. Kind of flew under the radar with the game result, but it's interesting.
Super interesting sequence. So Smith gets traded by the Fever back in February to Dallas for Sophie Cunningham. Okay. Then, just this past Monday, Dallas trades her again, this time to the Aces.
For a future first-round pick.
Right. And then her first game in an Aces uniform is against the Fever.
The team that just traded her a few months ago. You can't make this stuff up. How'd she do?
Not great. 4 points, 1 for 6 shooting, 7 rebounds in 23 minutes. But the bigger story is the fan reaction to the trade itself.
Yeah, people seemed really critical of the Aces giving up a first-rounder for her.
Especially when the narrative was that the Fever basically had to attach a pick or at least didn't get huge value. When they traded her away initially, fans are asking, what is the Aces front office doing?
Does this feed into that larger narrative some fans have about the Aces maybe losing their edge?
Oh, absolutely. It fuels the fire for those saying the Aces are completely washed as a team or that their current window has closed. That might be extreme, but
But these kinds of moves, combined with the on-court struggles, raise questions.
definitely. And some fans are even saying Abbas should leave, which is just wild to hear about the face of the franchise, the MVP.
It points to those chemistry concerns too, right?
Yeah.
The idea that losing players like Kelsey Plum, Sydney Colson, Alicia Clark, those locker room glue players maybe hurt more than people realized.
That's a big part of the fan theory, yeah, that they lost their heart and soul, impacting the energy and chemistry. It's a reminder that, talent is one thing, but that internal dynamic is crucial.
So true. But while there's concern in Vegas, there's real excitement brewing around the Fever now.
Oh, yeah. The question everyone's asking is, are the Fever legit?
And the answer from a lot of fans seems to be.
Yes, they are. People are speculating that a fully healthy Fever team with Clark back, but integrated into this defensive system with this chemistry, could they be a title contender?
That would be quite the turnaround story for the season.
Wouldn't it? So just to wrap things up, what we saw July 3rd was genuinely surprising. The Fever, missing Clark, just dismantled the defending champs.
Driven by that incredible defense and what looks like renewed team spirit, real chemistry, it's a powerful story about finding ways to win even with major adversity.
It really is. And it leaves you and everyone listening with this thought to chew on. In pro sports, with all the pressure and expectations, what's ultimately more crucial for sustained success? Is it the sheer star power? Is it the X's and O's from the coach? Or is it maybe that intangible thing, that team chemistry, that collective will, that ability to rally together when things get tough? Something to think about.